Hello, everyone. Welcome to our November edition of Barhead Live, fresh from Microsoft Ignite, which started last week. I got to say, I'm loving the enthusiasm in the chat here. And look at that. I can get your comments up on the screen too. I already posted a few comments in the chat there. I'm keen to hear who has watched Microsoft Ignite. Were you lucky enough to attend in person in Chicago? I got up early overnight here in Sydney and watched it, but it was very much worth it. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happening here. But if you didn't watch it, then this is going to be pretty exciting for you because we're going to be running through all of the highlights of things that were covered throughout the conference last week. And there is a lot. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rishona Elijah, and I work at Barhead Solutions. We are a Microsoft partner. We've been running these live sessions every month. So my role at Barhead is that I work in our evangelism team, running sessions like this to showcase all the cool things that's there in the world of Microsoft, Power Platform, Dynamics 365, and running training. So let's get things underway. I was working on this presentation, like, oh, this is a lot of stuff. I think I need to cut it down somehow to fit it in the 40 minutes that we've got. But these are my favorite picks, and I think the ones that are the most important things to keep a look out for if you work in the world of Power Platform. And I got to give a shout out to these comments here. Thanks, Scott. Training helps you pass the PL200. Appreciate it. Thanks for taking the course. There we go. Yeah, as I'm going throughout this, I can see the chat and everything like that. So put your questions in there. We also have the Barhead team on hand if I miss something and to share links and everything like that throughout the session as well. So what we'll start off with is we'll start off by going through Agents and Copilot Studio. We'll then move on to Power Apps, Power Automate, and Microsoft 365. So as you can probably tell from the stuff that I've got on the screen there, you're going to be hearing a lot of the same words from me. Agents and Copilot Studio, I will be saying a lot because that is really the theme of all of the announcements, or majority of the announcements that we have from the Ignite conference and the direction of where Microsoft is really heading with all of their innovations now. I wanted to start off by setting the scene of talking a bit about Agents and Copilot Studio. If you did happen to watch any of the Ignite sessions live, then you probably came across this diagram. I think a lot of the sessions had the presenters showing this because it's a good way to highlight what is Copilot, what is Copilot Studio, what are agents, and how do these things all work together. So I'm sure you've heard about Copilot before. So the idea of Copilot is that it's being treated as the user interface for AI, like a personal and private assistant that every employee can have, help them with their daily tasks, provide them with support. So we've got Copilot, but then we've also got Copilot Studio. So this, on the other hand, is a platform that you can use to build and manage your own agents. So these agents are these expert autonomous systems that are going to be working on behalf of you, a process, or your company. In order to create these agents, we use Copilot Studio. And just another bit about this. So the vision is that Copilot is something that every employee will have access to. So it's their personal assistant. You know, if you've got access to already, you can talk to it in places like Teams. You've got the chat when you look at your Office products in Microsoft. But then combined with this, we have agents as an add-on to them. And this is more on the business process side of things. So think about all the different processes you have in your organization, like, you know, leave requests, onboarding a new employee, managing your IT support. All of these different processes can have a dedicated agent. Copilot Studio is where you can go and create these agents, and they work on behalf of an employee to complete these tasks on their own without you needing to interfere. And another thing to add on with the background here is a bit of the evolution of how far agents have come, where they started off and what we're looking at today. So an agent can be ranging from simple straight through to advanced. So when we think about retrieval agents, these are ones that you probably know, are familiar with, have existed for quite some time now. You can be talking to an agent or a bot. You tell it to go and look up some information. It will tap into whatever sources it's got and then present that information for you. So that's pretty much the standard basic type of agent that you can have. Task is where it's going to go and take action on your behalf. So I might be talking to an agent or a chatbot and I say, can you please go and create a case for me? So on my behalf, it will go and create that in that system that we're connected to. The focus of where all of the Ignite announcements are and the direction of where we're heading now, though, is on this autonomous side. So rather than you needing to go and initiate this agent to go and do a task, it's going to do it on its own. So you can set up triggers of things that the agent will look for, like has an email been received, maybe a new user has been added to your HR system. And then based on that, without you really needing to interfere, it can go and perform these tasks on their behalf, like maybe go and assign them a device that they can use, or go and submit something for them, email them back. So it cuts down on you needing to interfere with this entire process. And that's really what we're looking at for majority of the things that we're covering today. And when we talk about agents, so first of all, they're agents that you can build. These are the ones that we can build with Copilot Studio, which we'll be looking at first today. But then you're going to also see that they're agents that Microsoft has already built that are ready to use in certain applications for you. So I'll talk a bit about one of the Dynamics 365 ones that's there. So this is one of these pre-built agents from Microsoft to help with people who use Dynamics 365 customer service. And there are a bunch of ones also available in the Microsoft 365 space. So, got your SharePoint files. I want an agent about that, or I want one to be able to manage the project management process, how employees can self-serve. So you got your own ones plus ones that Microsoft has already built for us that are ready to use. All right, so over here we've got Copilot Studio. So this is something that will be that is actually already there for you to try in preview. And this is the idea of how you can use Copilot Studio to build your own autonomous agent from scratch. So yeah, this is in public preview at the moment. So if you go in to Copilot Studio, it's there for you to try out. So this is where you can add triggers to your agent that you're building. So for example, let's say you wanted to build an agent to handle your onboarding process for employees. So what you can do is you can determine how is that agent going to know that there's a new employee. So that trigger might be that they're added to one of your business systems, your HR system. So then based on that trigger, you can then create a series of actions that need to occur based on that happening. So this is some screenshots of what's called the dynamic agent plan for the business process. So you got your trigger, but then what are the different steps that need to happen? And if you're familiar with Power Automate, then it's sort of a similar concept, except this is all done via natural language. So for each step, let's say an employee is added to the system, we might tell it at this step just in plain language. If the employee is of this category, then go and send them this device, or do this in order to allocate a device to them. So you provide these natural language instructions for each step. And then the agent is intelligent enough to know exactly how it needs to react in certain scenarios. So we've got this sort of flexible space that you can go and create. How is that agent going to be responding, compared to traditionally where you need to be able to make sure that you've listed out and mapped out every single scenario that's out there for it to handle. Other example might be, you might be using this agent to monitor emails arriving, maybe for customer service or dealing with your customers. So you could build the agent that can read or understand the content of that email and then tap into your system. Say, look up the details of who that sender is, check your inventory, process an order for you, and then perhaps close a ticket. Something that, if you were to do this, might be taking a whole period of days in order to complete that. Whereas the agent can kind of, know when these things happen, identify it, and it can run on its own throughout that entire time period. Talking about agents, I also wanted to talk a bit about some of the Microsoft built agents that are already in there or will be coming. So I'll jump back to Copilot Studio in a moment. But in addition to being able to build your own Copilots in Copilot Studio, Microsoft is also planning to introduce 10 agents that will be available in Dynamics 365. Sales, customer service, finance, and supply chain. There'll be some different agents introduced across those areas. So here I've just got a bit about the ones that will be coming for customer service. There's a customer intent agent, customer knowledge management agent, and case management agent. All right, so an idea of what each of these ones are going to do. First of all, let's take a look at the customer intent agent. So this one is designed to enhance customer service by using generative AI to understand what the customer's needs are in real time and then respond to them. And so what it does is that over time, you're working on your cases, the agent is learning how are these cases being resolved. So it's creating something called an intent library to have dynamic conversations with people. In this screenshot here, you've got a customer service self-service portal. You've got your agent embedded on that portal. And over here, we've just got a conversation of the customer talking about an issue they have with their coffee machine. So based on what that customer is saying, the agent is able to use all of its knowledge that it knows about, cases in the past to help the customer with that, to have this turn-based conversation. And in turn, letting that agent handle this is going to cut down the amount of time that you would have a live human agent trying to be answering all of these queries from your customers. But in the case that it is escalated to a live agent, then you also have that customer intent agent working with you in Dynamics 365 customer service itself. So let's say now that that conversation was handed off to a live agent. They could be talking to them, but what you see at the side here is that it's still that intent-based suggestions coming up. So based on the knowledge that it knows, it can suggest questions that you can ask, that you can send in the chat for that customer to try. So it helps with resolving cases a lot faster. Now, Knowledge Agent, another one of the ones we have for customer service, is around creating knowledge articles for you. It can, if you're closing cases, working on them, it can start to suggest what would be a good thing to create a knowledge article for, and then even draft that article for you. So if you've resolved a case, it can take a look at what steps were done, and then you can review it, create the knowledge article, edit it as you want. If it finds that, maybe this knowledge article is out of date, it's not the most recent steps, then it can start to suggest ways that you can improve or update some of your existing articles. And last one for customer service, we have the case management agent. So the idea of this is to streamline really the entire life cycle of your customer service cases, from the case being created straight through to the resolution and follow-up. It can automate key tasks throughout that entire process. It can draft emails for you. And like you can see here, if you were to go and resolve a case, it can go ahead and pre-populate some of that info that you see here. Like it knows what the resolution was. It can automatically write that in for you. So that's just a bit of a few of the ones that will be coming for Dynamics 365. Let's take a jump back and now take a look at Copilot Studio again. Does anyone here use BizChat? So this is the Copilot that you have sitting in things like Teams or Office when you go there. So there is a way that you can create your own agents directly from that Teams or directly from that like Office experience. You don't need to leave business chat in order to create your own agent. So I've got this video here. This is one of the demos that they did at Ignite to showcase how this works. And by the way, this is available right now. If you've got access to BizChat, you can start doing this. So what we've got is we're in BizChat, and this is a custom agent that someone has created for themselves. So in this case, this is a field service agent that they've created to be able to go and look up, how do I resolve this as a field service agent? What are the steps I need to take to get this done? So what we're doing here is directly from that. This is how you create it. You have a button you can click on that says create my own agent. And then we have like this lightweight version of Copilot Studio where you can give that agent instructions, point it to the sources that you want. Is it Dataverse, some other third-party application that you use? Is it SharePoint that it comes from? And then ready to go, you've got that agent there for that specific purpose. It sits there in your BizChat, so you can easily call on it when you want to ask it a thing specific for that. It can be an agent for yourself, but from here, you can also create it so that it's something other employees can use as well. So in that field service example, that might be something that you might build quickly just like that, but you can then share it with your other employees. Let's move on to talking about improvements to the quality of the responses that we're getting with AI. Microsoft is very much committed to improving AI quality and the quality of the answers that you get across your knowledge sources. So AI Answers now runs on GPT-4o, which allows you to reason over non-text, things like images, diagrams, which you're able to also now bring that into the types of things that you're training your model on, and for your users to do things like upload, documents and get answers about that. So something that's coming to do with this is there'll be a new knowledge management experience, which gives you a bit of an idea, or more of an idea, of how your agents are leveraging all of the different knowledge sources that you're using for it. So what we'll have is this knowledge area where you can get some stats on, based on people using it, how many of the knowledge sources are actually being called on, what's the error rate, and how many answers are getting responses for versus, is there a high rate of the questions going unanswered? So what you can do from here, you can review those stats, but then straight away you can see what is going unanswered. So I know this is an issue at the moment. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult to see exactly what are people saying, what was the question they asked, and is it actually responding as we want? This is going to let you review that and then make the changes straight away. So you'll get this area where it shows you over here how to improve your answer rate. It will give you a list of questions that have been unanswered by the agent. So then for each question, you can go through and then tell it how to respond or point it to the knowledge source that it needs to use. So then that stops it from always coming up with an error or saying that it doesn't know how to answer the question. It will improve the performance of your agent to make sure that it's covering all the things that people might be asking. We all love analytics for our agents and our bots. There is going to be an improved analytics area coming soon as well. This looks, the charts we've got now are quite nice. So this one looks quite pretty, I think, too. So we'll get some charts that show us some deeper insights on the effectiveness of our agents and our knowledge sources. So over here, you can sort of drill down into what's the outcome of the bot over time. So that shows you things like, is the conversation being resolved? Was it escalated to a live agent, or did they abandon the conversation? Which are key things to look out for to know if your agent is performing well or not. You can even sort it out based on topic, like you can see here. So, if someone is talking about retirement planning to the agent, it can sort it out based on that to tell you, based on that, how many are getting escalated, resolved, or abandoned, to give you some ideas of things that might need some work there. Got a question here. What kind of images could people upload to the agent? I do have a part where I'll talk about this. So it's kind of like if you've ever already used GPT 4o, you've got it in the Copilot chat that's there, or in ChatGPT. It's pretty much the same. So you know how you can take a picture of something, upload a receipt, and then it can read what that receipt was, pull out the information from it. I don't think might be, you take a picture. I actually use this one quite often using Copilot. Might take a picture of things like what ingredients I might have and get it to suggest what food I can make with it. So yeah, it's really any type of images, documents that you might have. It can do its analysis on it. Another example is, handwritten notes that you might have after a meeting. Can take a picture of it. You could perhaps go and send that to CRM. So it really opens up the doors to the types of things that we can get our agents to do once we start to bring in that image feature. All right, so moving on, we've got now the ability to connect Copilot Studio, the agents that we build there, to Azure AI Search. Your organization may be using Azure AI at the moment. So these capabilities will now be available in Copilot Studio directly. That means that you can leverage all of those 1,000+ pre-built models that they have, any custom models that you've built using Azure AI. So the good thing about this is that it allows makers to create more or handle more complex custom scenarios directly from the Copilot Studio interface. And more for Copilot Studio, yes, most of the things I'll talk about today are Copilot Studio related. All right, so Copilot Studio will now also support native voice capabilities, which means that you can use generative AI to have a conversation with the user on the other end. At this point, if you wanted to have chat for your bot, you call it up and you talk to it, you pretty much had to structure what that conversation is going to look like with the triggers, how should the agent respond. But now it can leverage that similar stuff that we have with the chat experience itself. So someone can call up, we've got the demo that they gave during Ignite was someone calling about mortgage and like interest rates. So you connect it up to where it's getting that information. And then like the chat, but it's the voice experience, you can just have a natural language conversation with that agent over the phone. And then similar stuff, you can review how it's performing and then go and update the knowledge sources that it's using. So it really lets your agent handle these issues that customers might have over the phone. And now this is also to do with the images that's now possible, is that it's now possible, or will be soon possible, to allow people to upload images in the chat with the agent. So benefit of this is that the agent will be able to analyze that image and then you can engage in Q&A about it. So kind of similar to how you've ever, like I just said, used it in the Copilot or ChatGPT. You can upload a picture, then ask questions about it, get it to suggest things, similar stuff that you can bring to your agents. This was the Ignite demo. So what they did is they had a map, the plan of what the conference ground looks like. You can ask the question, how do I get to this area of the conference? And then the bot can look at that picture and then give you an answer in response to it. So IVR and also this image upload can also be embedded in apps and websites if you're publishing your agent there too. So it's not just limited to calling up on the phone or having that single chat experience. All right, so moving on now, let's move on to some of the things with Power Apps. And you may think that it's over with Copilot, but what we're seeing now is that we've got agents and Copilot coming into all of these other areas of the Power Platform as well. Plan Designer was announced earlier in the year, so perhaps you've seen it before, but it's got some pretty cool upgrades to it. And excitingly, it will be in public preview in December, which is pretty soon. So soon enough, you'll be able to have a play around with this. When it comes to app development, the typical way is that you might start off by first, planning what are the processes you need to deal with. What do you need to build? Do I need a model-driven app? Do I need a Canvas app? What flows do I need? So you kind of already need to map that out yourself before you get building. But with Plan Designer, Copilot becomes your assistant in this process. So you can start off simply describe in natural language, this is the business problem I have, this is what I need to do. So like you can see here, you have this space where you can work alongside Copilot to draft out the different user stories. What are the roles? What functions do we need? So then Copilot will suggest these for you. You can revise it. It can tell you what tables you might need, what columns you might need, and then suggest, and even on your behalf, do the building for you. So let's say it comes up, you might need a Canvas app for this purpose, a model-driven app for this, and some Power Automate flows to handle this. So it will suggest those different components of the solution and then also build you a starting point for each of them. Data entry agent, another thing that you've probably heard about before. And in fact, a part of this is available already called Smart Paste. So if you want to try out what it is now in your environment, it's just a toggle that you can switch on in your environment settings. So that one allows you to autofill information you have in a screen in Dynamics 365 or any other model-driven app that you've got. So you can copy text to your clipboard. Then there's a Smart Paste button. It will go through that form and autofill or auto-suggest that information to fill out the fields on the form. So the days are gone of where you actually need to be, looking at that document or something, and then also writing side by side, filling in, doing all that manual data entry. This makes all of that a lot easier for you. So the new thing that's been announced, though, or what's been previewed to be coming soon, is the ability to, rather than having it in your just your text on your clipboard, you can do things like upload files to it, documents, you can point it to emails, and it can use that as the source for the information that it's autofilling. Got a few quick ones here. Smart grids, this is bringing this little Copilot chat when you're looking at a grid or a view of your data in Dynamics 365 or your model-driven app. Allows you to just write in natural language, what data do you want presented on the screen, what filters do you want, and then it can do the filtering to that view and those records to present you with the info that you need. And I showed you before the agent builder that is in that Microsoft 365 experience. So this one is around enabling makers to build agents directly within Power Apps Studio using this lightweight Copilot Studio experience. So this takes your existing app logic, knowledge, and actions. So in this small example here, let's say we've got an expense reimbursement app. So the maker can take existing steps off the process that are built into the app. So the app might have the ability to categorize what the expenses are for, do some compliance checking, maybe reject requests if they're incomplete. So what this can do with that agent that you built is to go and handle these tasks instead. So if you've built any of these custom Dataverse functions into your app, then the agent is able to leverage what those functions are and then perform those tasks on its own. And this is a small one, but probably one of my favorites. I'm someone I know for sure who definitely struggles with remembering formulas when it comes to building out Canvas apps. So we'll have a nice Copilot assist to help us with creating the formulas when you're building out your Canvas apps. All right, Power Automate. So this is a bit of a mix between Power Automate and AI Builder. Document processing, we've got this comparison to what it's been like in the past versus what it's looking like now and in the future. So let's say you want to be able to train an AI model to read your custom forms that you might use in your organization, or maybe things like invoices, contracts. Traditionally, using AI Builder, you needed that sample data, and then you would go through a process of telling it and pointing it, extract this field, and this is what this field means. Then you need to train that model. So it can end up being quite time consuming in order to get that model built. But now with GPT, it's been simplified. Just with natural language, you're able to give it an explanation of what you want the model to do, point it to reference info, and then it can use that as the basis of really working and starting to process your documents. So AI Builder, it's now a multimodal experience. So this is an example of, let's say, if you wanted to train a model to process your invoices. So you can simply just describe or tell it, I want you to pull out these fields from this invoice. You can tag it with documents. So here you can see we've uploaded a file there. And then tell it what types of fields you want it to be able to pull out, like get the order summary information, get the line items for it. And you can provide these additional instructions like you can see there, like how to handle something if the field is missing. So rather than you needing to go and, upload all of those sample documents, tag each of them, you can simply just explain what you're after. And the model is able to handle that. So in addition to that, there's this prompt library. It's actually there now if you want to take a look. I don't think all of them are there at the moment though. In the AI Hub in Power Automate, you can see a list of all of these different prompts that have been pre-designed for you. You can use these as a template for when you want to go and create your own AI models. So you look for the template that you want, you can then customize it, point it to your right documents to make sure that it's getting out the right information that you would like. Similar to that, we have generative actions. These were announced earlier in the year under the name of AI flows, but now it's called generative actions. So these allow you to add AI-powered steps in your cloud flows that you're building with Power Automate. So it's kind of like an AI guardrail that you're putting in within that process. Typical way you build out your cloud flows is you need to handle every single scenario and every single condition that might be there, and then map out what that's going to look like. So generative actions simply describe what needs to happen. Let's say you're building out a process for managing approvals. So you tell it, this is how you handle approvals. It needs to go to this person. You might even have a document that details all of this. You can get it to point to that document to use that for its reference. So then rather than you dictating or telling it, building out how is it going to handle every scenario, it can use the instructions that you've given it, whether that's the written stuff or the files that you might have added to it, how it's going to go and handle that. And another one here, Expression Assistant. So using expressions in Power Automate, similar to how we've got that one in Canvas apps for the formulas, we'll also have something similar for our expressions, which allows you to explain what you want, and then it can give you that expression. So, if you wanted to do something like change the date format, concatenate text somewhere in your flow, you don't need to remember what that expression is. You can just explain it, and it can generate that for you. And lastly, we have all the stuff coming for Microsoft 365. So this one's new, Copilot Actions in Microsoft 365. This is a simplified way to automate repetitive tasks. With the way that you build this out is this simple fill in the blank prompts like you can see here. So let's say that you wanted to be able to get daily updates about something or prepare you for a meeting. So what you can do is with this simple action builder that you've got, you give it an instruction like summarize my emails related to this topic and send me that as an email. So you can set up this and get them to run on a schedule too. So it could be like every day it goes through and it sends you those emails. So they're an easy way to automate these repetitive and daily tasks that you might have, like status updates, getting reports, summarizing your emails. We've got, I mentioned this before, some of those pre-built agents that Microsoft has. They're those Dynamics 365 ones, but then we also have ones that are available in Microsoft 365. Agents in SharePoint is one that's actually rolling out at the moment. If you're lucky, you might already have access to it. I've checked and I don't just yet. But what this allows you to do is that if you're just on a SharePoint site, that image is a bit blurry there, but you have the ability to click a button that says create an agent. So it takes that site, the documents, the contents of it, and create an agent based on that. So you might have maybe a SharePoint site dedicated to a project that you're working on. You want your employees to be able to quickly get info about all of the documents or look up anything to do with that project. So with that agent created, it creates that chat experience for them that's grounded in the data that exists in that SharePoint site. So that's the only one that's here right now. The other ones listed are in preview at the moment, which means they're not here yet, but they'll be coming soon. There's the employee self-service agent. This is one that you'll be able to use to answer commonly asked employee-related questions like IT support requests, HR policies, leave, requesting a new laptop, that sort of thing, and handling how that works. Facilitator agent is one that will be there in your Teams meetings. It will be able to take real-time notes for you. Interpreter agent will bring real-time interpretation to your Teams meetings. It will support up to 9 languages. So this will allow people to, when you're in the meeting, you can speak in whatever language you prefer. People listening will hear that in their preferred language. Oh, the other thing with this, which I think is quite cool, is that it is also going to be simulating the personal voice of whoever the speaker is. So the idea is that it won't sound robotic. And we've also got the project manager agent that will be coming. This one is to work with the Microsoft Planner tool that we've got. So it's to manage project management related tasks like progress tracking, sending reminders, creating tasks, allocating that to people. So Copilot Pages is already available at the moment. Maybe you've had to play around with it already, but there's an update coming to this with Copilot Pages. If you don't know what it is, by the way, so when you're in that business chat experience and you're talking to Copilot, there's a button that says like that, add to page. So it takes whatever content was AI generated, adds it to this collaborative page that you can make edits to. And then also you can share it with your colleagues. So you can all be sort of collaborating on that same page. But the addition to this now is that it will also support not just text, but also things like charts that might be created, blocks of code, flow charts. So if you got your Copilot to go and build a chart about something, you'll also be able to interact with that in your page. Question there, where can we find Copilot Pages? So when you're in Office, like in the Office 365 website, you've got the Copilot button. So either you can just be talking to Copilot, and then the response from Copilot, you will probably see something that says add to page. Other option, you should also see, it might be a bit small there, but there's another button which is just Pages itself. So any page that you've created or you want to create a new one will appear there. Same experience if you're doing this in Microsoft Teams. Though I think in Teams, you can just only do it from Copilot and it won't have that separate Pages area. And finally, to wrap things up, we've got here the Copilot Prompt Gallery. This used to be called Copilot Lab, I think it was, but they've rebranded it now and there's some new things that will be coming here. So I use this quite often. It's a good way to go and see get some ideas on prompts that you can use in Copilot, whether that's, in business chat, in Excel, in PowerPoint. It's a great way to get some inspiration on how you can use Copilot and things that you can do. So what will be coming new to the prompt gallery will be the ability to share these prompts internally with your organization. So you can get an idea of what are other people using that's useful for them. And you can even upvote them. And then there's a leaderboard, or you can see the trends of what are the most popular prompts, and you can share them with people. All right, so those were the highlights that we had to cover from Microsoft Ignites. Keen to hear what everyone thought or their favorites. I'm trying to think what my favorite was. I feel like definitely the Copilot Studio stuff, but I don't know which one. There were so many of them. Let us know in the chat if you have any favorites, and keen to hear your feedback as well of what you thought about this session. In the chat, we'll have someone from a Barhead marketing team just post a few links in there that you can take a look at. So first of all, we've got the feedback form so we can hear about what you thought about the session, and also what topics you would like to see next. This was the last Barhead Live that will be running for 2024, but we'll be back next year, and always trying to think of new topics that we can cover in these sessions. So if there's something of interest to you, feel free to let us know. If you're interested in training up your teams, feel free to reach out to us as well. We run a variety of training programs. You can see in the chat there, we've got some people who have taken some of the courses that I've done in the past. So whether that's something on Copilot for your teams, Power Platform, or Dynamics 365, we can really handle it all. So just note it in the feedback survey if that's something that you're interested in checking out. Upcoming events at Barhead. So if you're in Sydney, tomorrow we've got our fabulous marketing team who work with customer insights. We'll be delivering a session on Dynamics 365 customer insights. So that one is in person, happening tomorrow. Will be great to see you. If you want to be there, I'll be there. Good opportunity to catch up in person too. And with that done, I think I've gone through and answered all the questions that we had in the chat. I am available though on LinkedIn. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to pop it in the feedback form. Or also you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect if you want to send a request, and follow Barhead on LinkedIn as well, because we're always posting about the latest features, updates, and good way to stay up to date on what's new and upcoming with Power Platform and Dynamics 365. So with that said, thank you everyone for attending today.